Loftus Hall is a mansion house located on the Hook Peninsula in County Wexford, in the extreme southeast of Ireland. Due to its eerie location surrounded by the Celtic Sea and its rich history, the hall is said to be haunted by not only a young woman, but the devil himself. Before looking into these hauntings in more detail, let's take a look at the history of the property. The current hall occupies land that was originally used around 1170 by English Norman invaders. This land soon handed down to the Redmond family, who built their own hall on the ground and named it Redmond Hall, around the time of the Black Death. By 1642, the Confederate Wars between the native Irish Catholics and the English and Scottish Protestants was in full swing, and Redmond Hall being on a peninsula, it was ripe for the picking, and English soldiers loyal to Charles I attacked. During this time, the owners of the hall were known to be sympathetic to the Irish rebels, and on 20th of July 1642, English Captain Aston and around 90 men landed near the hall with a plan to seize the property. Alexander Redmond, now 68, was assisted by his sons and house workers, numbering 10 in total. The group held down defence on the house and Captain Aston was killed, and the remaining English soldiers fled back to their boats. It is also reported that Alexander defended the house numerous more times against the following invasions of Oliver Cromwell before dying in the hall in the early 1650s. The English Loftus family was granted the property soon after, and it soon became the family's primary residence. The former Redmond family disputed their ownership of the land numerous times, but were unsuccessful, and the new name Loftus Hall was adopted for the property. During the 1800s, many renovations were done to the property, and it was even used as a convent school for young girls in the early 1900s. By the 1980s, the hall was being used as a hotel, but was soon closed in the early 1990s. The events that took place in 1666 are well known by local residents. A man by the name of Charles Tottenham was in care of the mansion with his wife and daughter, Anne. During a storm, a ship docked at the peninsula and a young man was welcomed into the mansion. Anne began to get very close with the young man. One night, the family sat down to play cards with the man. It was noted by the butler that each person received 3 cards except for Anne, who only got 2. When the butler began to question the man, Anne bent down under the table, seemingly to pick up a card she had dropped. When Anne looked beneath the table, she noticed the young man had 2 cloven feet, or hooves. Upon seeing these, Anne leaped up and questioned the man regarding the feet. It is said that the man shot straight up into the air through the roof, leaving a large hole. Anne, being close to the man, became mentally ill soon after, and it's believed that the family became so ashamed of their daughter that they locked her away in the tapestry room, which happened to be her favourite room of the house. This was so she would be kept out of sight and out of harm's way. She began turning down food and drink and spent her days with her knees under her chin, staring out across the sea through a window, waiting for the mysterious young man to return. Anne died in the same room in 1675, and because she had been in the same crouched posture for so long, her body could not be straightened. Her muscles had seized, and she was buried in the same sitting position. It is said that the hole in the roof caused by the stranger could never be repaired, and it is said that to this day there is part of the ceiling that appears different to the rest. It is also believed that the stranger often returned to the house to cause poltergeist activity, and with the family being Protestant, they called in a Protestant priest who was unable to rid the house of activity. Father Thomas Broders, a Catholic priest, was then called and performed an exorcism. Although Father Broders' exorcism seemed successful in stopping the poltergeist activity, it is said that the ghost of a young woman, presumably Anne Tottenham, still makes frequent visits to the hall. Throughout the 1990s, numerous people tried trespassing onto the property in the hopes of getting a glimpse at something paranormal. However, most reported being chased off by an angry old gatekeeper that lived in the cottage opposite the gate, while others reported being scared off by strange lights being seen through the property windows at night. In 2011, the hall was purchased by a new buyer, who has opened it up to tours. Numerous sightings of Anne have been reported in the years since. The sound of horses' hooves have also been heard around the grounds at the mansion. So what do you think? Is the legend of Loftus Hall true, or is it simply folklore?